Yes, guys, welcome to another episode of Internet Dads, but the first ever one filmed on location. It's Dads on Tour, Monte Carlo, Monaco. Rory, what are we doing here, my son?
We've set the bar very high.
Very high.
Like when your first tour is Monte Carlo, I feel like the only way is down. Like we've started on the French Riviera.
Unbelievable. My first time here. Never been here before.
It's wonderful.
You've had previous.
I love it here. I feel like if I could be the man that I want to be, I am the personification of Monte Carlo. I love it.
Can I just say, you can be the man you want to be, Rory.
I'm not the man I want to be.
You can be
the man I want to be is a man that swans about the French Riviera wearing pastel jumpers delicately poised around my shoulder.
You're very close. You're
That's who I want to
that.
be, and I currently don't do that on a daily basis. I spend a lot more time on the Kilburn High Road than I do on the French Riviera. So
well,
as soon as I can offset that balance, I'll be happy.
You're getting in the right direction. Before anyone points it out, I'm obviously not in that quite same aesthetic as what Rory just described. I've gone full-on dad mode, because you can take the dad out of England, but you can't take... No, that doesn't make sense. England out of dad. You can take the England... I don't know. I'm basically a dad and I'm embracing it. I've got the socks and sandals. Check. I've got the cycling glasses.
The mad sunglasses.
Check. I've got my... What do we even call this?
Man bag.
Man bag.
Dad
check.
bag.
There's nothing in there. No, but listen, I embrace being a dad and I want my clothing to replicate that.
A football top and a backwards cap.
Yeah, well, that was mainly for lighting reasons.
Yeah.
If I flip it around, it's going to be hard to see my face. So that you're welcome. That's for the production.
Yeah,
team.
no, you're not. You're the antithesis to the French Riviera. You're Bognor Regis.
In our league, actually, not anymore. They just got relegated. Commiserations for the Bognor Regis people. But no, I mean, that's my kind of vibe. Is wherever you go, you take the same dad, setup with you.
Dad energy.
So you can't change me. I can change my settings, but it's very nice. I mean, listen, the sun is shining, even though it's just a dream to be in recording this. Do we start to have the little dad guilt set in? We've got our children not here, we've got our partners not here. I mean, where do you stand on this?
No, literally no. I won't allow that doubt to creep in. I won't allow that thought to manifest in my brain, purely because I'm working.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm working. It's not my fault that my work happens to be quite nice and glamorous. It's not my fault. Effectively, I'm scaffolding here. I am. I am. I could be a scaffolder. I could be laying the roads. It just so happens that my profession is playing poker, which is probably my favourite thing to do in the world, even above, actually above sex, above everything.
Is it got officially number one now?
Poker, sex, paddle, football.
Wow, football's down to 4.
I think so.
That is controversial.
I think so. It's just harder and harder. And paddle is. I've got this like newfound love of paddle. So it's elevated at the moment. Football's a constant. Football's been in the top 4 my whole life. Paddle is just there as of the past sort of month or so.
Yeah, some will come and go. Football will probably stay.
Exactly.
Football, I mean, I've literally just played a football game a few days ago.
I saw glorious photos.
Yeah, and one of the things, obviously, that paddle has maybe, and poker definitely, over football is the longevity aspect, because football is hard and I play increasingly less. But we had a very special game on Sunday. It was a hashtag game. We took on a Premier League All-Stars 11. And it was great because I won't talk about what happened in the match. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube yet, but there'll be highlights on the hashtag channel. But it was such a great family day because I had me and my brother playing, as we tend to. And I know that kind of comes with the territory of hashtag, but you've got to remember, I'm 36, Seb's 40 this year. It does. We're playing against very good players.
It was a wonderful photo. You and your brother, on the pitch, your football team.
Yeah.
It's a photo that we've seen through the ages as well. And obviously, your dad will have that photo from when you were 7.
Yeah.
Do you know? And the fact that you're still doing it. It was a beautiful, iconic photo. And that wasn't the only one. You had your boy.
Oh, yeah, there's so much going on, and every time we do those photos, the hair gets a bit greyer. We get a bit older, but the consistency's there. So it wasn't just me and Seb. My little boy came out on my shoulders as a mascot out on the pitch, which is the first time he's ever really done that. Yeah, he's 4 now, and I sort of had to describe it to him. And he wasn't when I first described it to him, I said, "Do you want to do that?" And he sort of said no, but I don't think he really knew what it meant. I said, "Don't worry," and I said, "Do you want to go on my shoulders?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, shoulders, sign me up." He didn't talk to me about the shoulders. So he came out on the shoulders. A few other people had their kids. One of our players had his 2 adult nephews with him, which was hilarious. But so in the same game, we had me and my brother. We had Ryan and Sam Adams, brothers as well, who've been at hashtag since the start in terms of the origins of the team. We had Joe Keefe and Albie Keefe. So Joe Keefe's our assistant manager, ex-Colchester player, scored in the FA Cup quarter-final, proper career. His nephew, Albie, played for us in the early non-league days. They both played on the pitch at the same time. And then perhaps the best one, our manager, Devs, and his son, Ellis, played on the pitch together. That, for me, is... Maybe I wouldn't have said this at 16, 17, when peak football is, playing for England, scoring the goal in the World Cup. As an adult man who, I know you haven't fully accepted it yet, but I probably accepted I won't play for England at this point.
No, never accept that.
Well,
I will always, never let that dream die. You're going to get called up, mate.
There could actually be an opportunity to play for England, which I'll get into in a minute. But for me now, peak football is probably playing with my kids.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what? There was a moment actually in football fairly recently where we were deprived of that moment. I think Ashley Young.
Yeah.
Ashley Young had the opportunity to play with his boy, and he was robbed of that.
Play against
his boy.
That's even crazy.
Yeah, and he was robbed of the opportunity by Darren Ferguson.
But it was a big game, wasn't it? It was an FA Cup game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But still, I agree with you that there is a true beauty in the family lineage in football, and we shouldn't be deprived of that. So it must have been a spectacular moment.
It was.
And you were playing against serious players.
Yeah, man. The other team.
I saw Wayne Routledge.
Wayne Routledge, who is by far, and this might surprise people, it surprised me because I've obviously admired Routledge from afar, thinking about his, his low centre of gravity, his sort of football skills. I don't know the word to describe it, the densest human I've ever come up against. He was immovable.
Really?
And I don't know if it's connected to his height,
of course it
but
is.
I've tried to, and he's obviously in great nick still. I could not move him an inch.
No, mate, it's 100% connected to your height. I'm not very good at this, but I should be.
Well,
like,
Dini was playing the same game.
Gianfranco
He was
Zola.
easier to move around than Routledge was.
Gianfranco Zola, Eden Hazard, Diego Maradona, they're all incredibly short and incredibly strong. You cannot move them off the
It was
ball.
like you had roots going into the ground, and you couldn't move it. A pleasure to play against the likes of him, Dini, Jake Livermore, Henry Lansbury, David Bentley, Pascal Chimponda.
That was amazing.
Danny Aarons.
I can't wait to see these highlights.
We had Bazinga on our side as well, which is great for him to come and play. But yeah, the manager and the son getting to play together, and there was a great moment on the pitch that happened, which I won't spoil, but it makes it even better. Yeah, it's just the best thing possible. And then the weirdest thing about it was, I didn't even clock this till after the game, right? We played the game at Bishop Stortford's ground, semi-pro ground. Played there once before. The game was on the 4th of May, right? Sunday the 4th of May, which is my late grandmother's birthday. She died a few years ago, and she lived in Bishop Stortford. Yeah. Isn't that mad? It's
beautiful. Symmetry.
It's just a lovely family occasion. My mum and dad at the game as well, watching. And then it shows you how far hashtags come, that now we're like incorporating our next generation down in the kids era. Because when we first started, about a year after we founded the club, we played a game at Upton Park and we subbed my dad on. Really? So my dad has got one appearance for hashtag at Upton Park, and he scored a penalty.
Did he?
Yeah, in a penalty shootout, he took one, he scored it.
Sensation.
So yeah, we're going through the generations. If we can get my lad's generation playing for the club, then we've done something very right. But yeah, that's
no reason why not.
No, he needs to pay a little bit more attention at little kickers, a little bit more attention. He's wavy, he's a little bit carried away sometimes, but he's only 4, so we'll give him a few years before we start nailing down.
I find little kickers very funny. You know, when you start taking it a little bit too seriously.
Yeah.
Like celebrating a goal. You know, like the score will be 36, 37, and she'll score, and you should actually celebrate.
But that is like we talked about. My brother saying that he took more pride in his daughter scoring goals than he did any goal he'd ever scored. It's like, it's a very hard thing to explain to someone who hasn't got a child.
No, it's completely.
And it's not like a patronising thing, but it's just, you can't explain how the pride you get. Like even when I'm out here, Alex sent me a few pictures of him at nursery from yesterday and stuff, and you're just like, that emotion when you see the picture is crazy.
It's truly unbelievable, that attachment. You know, last summer, it's coming up again this year, and I've already got Clementine in training for this. I'm like taking it very seriously. But Sports Day, it's like a festival. It's beautiful. It's in the grounds of the school, and they really dedicate, and they make it like a mini version of the Olympic Games, but more important. And Clementine won her thing.
Wow.
And I'd lost myself in the moment. I didn't realise I realised that she'd won, but I didn't realise that we were being filmed. So she had to run along, she had to go through the hoop, jump over the thing, go under the thing, sprint finish. And she won. You can see me in the background. So the video is being filmed from the opposite side of the pitch. I can look at her, and I didn't know that she had this skill set. I didn't know that she was going to be, I know that she's quick compared to, say, the 3 kids that she plays with on our close, but I've never seen her race not 60, but 12 kids.
Yeah.
And it was this moment where she's like bombed off, and she's tinier. She's like the tiny one. Me in the background of the shot, it was the same reaction that I displayed when I saw her cross the finish line first, that I displayed when Didier Drogba scored in Munich. Honestly, I went, when the celebration is completely off kilter, so everybody else is sort of politely clapping, and I've sort of done this jumping leap, punching in the air.
Have you taken part in any of
the dad's version?
Stuff?
No, do you know what happened? The dad's version at our school was cancelled because the previous year, it was all taken far too seriously, and somebody apparently broke their ankle or
I
something
can
like
imagine
that.
a lot of hamstrings being pulled.
Yeah.
Especially from the
So
men
the
on the
dad's
100 metre
race,
sprint.
the dad's race was cancelled
Yeah.
because it was taken too seriously. And to be totally frank, I was quite relieved because I kind of look around the other dads and I feel like I'd be okay, but I'm not a sprinter. And basically, you can't lose in front of your kid.
No one's convincing the dads to do like a cross country.
No, if they did, I'd back myself.
Yeah.
But you know, like a sprint.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very difficult for me to win that sprint.
We
'cause I'm
could
short.
easily get injured, and it's the irony, isn't it? Because I feel like my kids aren't at that age yet, but from observing from afar, it feels like we're moving towards a society of like they're trying to shy away from winning,
No.
aren't they? They are though.
Yeah, they are,
I don't
but
agree
it's
with it,
completely
they are.
unacceptable,
So
yeah.
then what happens is, and that makes sense maybe why they're getting away from the parent stuff, is if you're trying to say to the kids, which I don't agree with, that, you know, everyone's a winner and you get a medal for finishing last or whatever, then like what do you then do when all the dads are trying really hard to win?
Yeah, yeah. Also, it's utter nonsense to try and pretend to children or to a younger generation that there's no such thing as winning. It's utterly ridiculous. You're not setting them up for the real world. You're not setting them up for a good future. If your child is being raised in a world where there are no winners and therefore there are no losers, effectively it means everyone's a loser.
Well, I think what you need to do is you need to have winners, you need to allow people to be good at something, and then you need to find other avenues for the people that aren't good at that thing to show themselves in other ways.
Yeah.
So they need to have opportunities to do chess club or whatever the thing that the guys that are less sporty at can excel at. And that's the most important thing. You don't need to make everyone feel equal at everything. That's nothing to help
completely.
society. We need talents in other areas, you know?
Yeah. Also, just try. Like, you don't have to be. I think it's a natural thing for a child to do to try something, and then appreciate that maybe that isn't their avenue, and then move on to something else and focus on something else and accentuate the positive. This whole idea that there's no such thing as being good at something or being bad at something, it's utterly ridiculous.
No, I think what we can do as well within finding the winners of categories is also like empower the idea of self-improvement. So it doesn't have to be like a medal you've won, but for example, say a lad, you know, does the 400 metres one year and he's last, but he gets a certain time, and the next year he's last again, but he gets a way better time. You should find a way of saying well done to him, so he's learning that he's improving himself.
You were the worst, but you were better than you were. You've bettered yourself, but you're still the worst runner.
Anyone that improves themselves in something they're not good at, it doesn't matter whether they're the best in the world at it. They should be commended for that, or they should commend themselves for that.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as
I'm
winning.
not sure, mate.
No, I think
I'm not sure.
If someone's improving themselves, that should be commended. But it doesn't mean they have to be treated the same way as the winner.
I thought it was utterly ridiculous recently, the London Marathon. Joe Wicks, a man whose fitness, you're not meant to say that people haven't done well in the marathon because everybody's done well in the marathon.
Yeah.
He didn't do well in the marathon. 6 hours. Are you kidding me?
Was he running with some other people or something?
Don't know. I saw his time, 6 hours. John Terry, one of my heroes, somebody who I rate as in terms of like in being an athlete, being a professional, being the best defender that the Premier League's ever seen, being one of Chelsea's greatest ever players, somebody who you could easily argue should have a statue built. I have no shame in telling John Terry that he completely fluffed the marathon.
How long did he do?
5 hours. You can imagine the training. You can imagine what you would have had. You can imagine like the 300-pound plant-based shoes that he would have been wearing and all that. 5 hours. Look, he's a hero of mine. But he lost the marathon. He lost the marathon.
I don't think he lost it.
He lost it.
And you've done a marathon, haven't you?
Better time than John Terry twice.
What did you get?
I did 3:57.
Well, that's very good.
3:57 and 4:12.
But how would you feel if the guys that did 2.5 hours are saying that you lost it?
I did lose it. I didn't win it.
No, I'm not saying you
No,
won
no.
it
But
either.
sub 4, when I did 4:12, the reason I had to do it again was because I had to do sub 4. Sub 4 is a win. Over 4 hours, you've lost the marathon. Joe Wicks, fitness guy, lost.
But can we agree? And I don't think it's lost, because if they lost it, then what did the people that didn't do it do?
They also lost.
Yeah, so they have to have some sort of scale. I think that it's relative. Like there also could be someone doing the marathon who's like, you know, an artificial
No,
leg.
they're all heroes.
Yeah.
They're heroes. And you know, I saw a fireman doing it. He blew my mind actually, just for the levels of fitness and dedication. I saw a fireman doing it, and he was doing it in full fireman gear,
That is mad.
but also the breathing.
Yeah.
So he's breathing like, I mean,
Was he running?
He's running, man.
Wow.
Like, and he still finished ahead. Like on London Tonight, they made a really big deal out of the last person to finish the marathon.
I mean, technically, that's
why
me.
is this gimp getting all of them?
I haven't even started it yet.
No.
I want to be celebrated.
Mate, this guy finished the marathon. He's wearing like normal gear. He's been overtaken by a guy dressed as a T-Rex and Fred Flintstone in the car with the feet coming out. He's been overtaken by everyone. And London Tonight did this really big celebration about this guy who finished the marathon last. was like, this guy's a punk, man. Why is he getting the accolades?
Did you hear this story? I'll butcher it
You
now,
completely disagree with that,
but,
don't you?
no, I don't think you should get accolades. I think they're doing it as like a sort of celebration of the end of the marathon rather than celebration of that man.
Yeah.
There might be a reason.
That man should not have been on the
I don't know
telly.
the story as to why he took so long, but
Because he was useless. He didn't train.
there's this story, and I'll butcher this now. Someone in the comments will know it better than me, but it's this. I think it was an international marathon somewhere. I don't know where it was. It might have been Sweden or somewhere. And basically, this guy was doing it, and he stopped off to get a drink. He stayed off in someone's house, and something happened basically that meant he never finished it. Like it's a really weird story. Like he was sent to someone's house, and then like he either like ended up falling in love with this woman and just never. But basically,
Well, he fell in love during the marathon.
As in, like he basically was tired, so in his head he sacked it off.
Right.
In his head he sacked it off, and he sits in the house and he has this. Ends up not going home. But anyway, the point is that he never officially ended the marathon. So someone contacted him because he was like a missing person, I think, as well. 30 years later, they were like, you're still doing the marathon.
Your ticket's still going, the time.
I think it's in the Guinness Book of Records, like longest marathon ever, but obviously it's
Really? John Terry's rivaling him.
Yeah. But I think though, like, I have no massive interest in doing a marathon. I don't know when you did it, if you trained
Oh,
or
mate,
not.
I did it. The most recent time I did it was 10 years ago. And yeah, mate, I did the training. The training's a killer.
Yeah, that's
because
for
all
me.
the training starts in January, February. So I was running over Hampstead Heath, when it was like snowing.
Horrible.
All your training takes place in the winter, but it is a wonderful day. It's a heartwarming day. It is a holistic day. It's the day of the marathon itself. I think it demonstrates the best in people, the best in everybody. Yeah. The people who go to watch, the spectators, they get you through. They play their part. They are contributors to the marathon. The people running are heroes, except for a few.
Well, the one recently, obviously, was super hot weather as well, which it adds to it probably as a spectator. Maybe makes it a bit harder as a runner. But I have a lot of respect for him. My dad's done multiple marathons, but the training's always put me off. I wouldn't mind like turning up and doing one day.
No, but you can't. You can't. You
No,
have to get the miles.
do a good time.
You have to. No, but I don't think you get round. I genuinely.
I can tell you a great story about that.
Okay, just so that people know, I think you're about to disprove this theory, but it's basically learned knowledge that you do not get round a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. You will not get round. You'll hit a wall, regardless of how fit you are, regardless of how many spin classes you do or how much football you play. You will not get round a marathon because your legs will effectively turn to jelly.
I would take a bet that I could do it.
26.2.
You've got to give me enough hours to do it in though. If you say I've got to do it in 5 hours and no training, no, obviously not. But I could do it without walking.
You could do it without walking?
Yeah, I think so, right now.
I know you're very fit, but I think it's a very particular style of fitness and I don't think you'd get round.
I think my main issue would be my knee. If my knee holds out, I think I'd do it. It wouldn't be quick, but listen to this, right?
What do you think, sub 6?
I don't know enough because I've never really run anything longer than like a half marathon.
I think if you were doing 11-minute miles... No, I still don't think you get round, Spencer.
I'd
really
get round. It might be. It wouldn't be sub 6 probably, but I'd get round. But anyway, I may be very wrong about that. But and I take nothing away from the achievements. The only marathon I've ever done is a river marathon. I did a rowing 26-mile river marathon on the Thames from Millwall to Richmond.
How long does that take?
3.5 hours. But it's 8 of us
Rowing
in an eight
rowing
man
for
longboat.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Mate, when I do rowing at the gym, I do like a burst on it. It's killer.
Yeah, so obviously you're doing a much slower stroke rate at that.
Yeah.
And you also have a cox, so you get a little break. You
Really?
rotate. But it was great fun. That was about 10 years ago I did that. But that actually is a race. It's amazing. It's called the Great River Race, right? And you're on the Thames and you can see any boat can enter. So you have like a one-man kayak and you have a Roman longboat with 30 people.
Really?
Rowing. It's the most crazy thing.
Love
the whole
it.
Thames is filled with boats. I'd love to do that again, actually. But the story I was going to tell is I used to live with this guy, right? One of the most exuberant characters you've ever met. You know when you meet someone, you're just drawn to them, like they've got that magnetic energy and they sort of like command the room of whatever room they're in. This guy is one of those guys, right? And he had many wacky ideas. But one of his ideas was, and he was a bit of a party lad, very successful guy, but party guy, DJ as well. And he, had this idea, and I was helping him with it because he's making some social media content out of it. This is like 15 years ago, where he wanted to go and do a DJ session at Fabric, which he was a DJ there, come straight out of Fabric, zero training, and then run the marathon. But also as part of this, and I'm not condoning this in any way, shape or form,
I know where this is
part
going.
of this, he was severely inebriated. So basically he was having a sesh, going straight into the marathon to finish it, right?
Yeah,
to do it.
He won't get round.
Now, he did get round. He did do it. It took him like 12 hours, right? But here's the crazy bit. And I can't remember why, he chose as a charity partner, I think it was Age Concern, like the charity for sort of older people. And he raised like 70 grand for them because he was quite well connected and he raised a load of money and they turned it down.
That's ludicrous.
They said, we
man.
can't take it because is so irresponsible what you're doing, you could die.
I think they are incredibly irresponsible to turn the money down.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know.
Money's as green as anyone else's, isn't it?
I don't know if it never the sponsorship never went through because they turned it down or whatever. There was a newspaper article.
Do you know? Did you ever see?
Anyway, I don't condone that sort of behaviour.
Cal Freezy, you know the fit boys in YouTube, the young fit lads. Cal Freezy, maybe Reeve, definitely Harry from the Sidemen. There's quite a famous in France actually, not too far from where we are. There's a marathon where you go round, and the whole like unique part to this marathon is, rather than having maybe stops for energy gels and stops for electrolytes or whatever else, it stops for cheese and wine.
That's outrageous.
And they did it.
Well, for 26 miles.
And I think you go totally dressed in fancy dress. Yeah, there's a good video on Cal Freezy's YouTube channel. I remember watching it. And you basically go round this entire course in France. The marathon, I think it's taken quite seriously in terms of times. But you're all dressed as I think Harry was actually dressed as Fred Flintstone, and rather than pit stopping for an energy jet, full marathon.
This makes no. I mean,
I promise
they need a bit of energy, but
or I've completely made it up and I'm having a trip now.
The wine's dehydrating you as well, so that's making it even harder.
Yeah, so it's red wine and cheese, and that's like the most French thing ever.
That's crazy. I mean, it's not a marathon obviously, but I saw the one Theo did in his channel, which was like. Was it a mile running around the lap and then they had to do a pint and then had to do another mile, or it was 400 metres, whatever it was, but it was like a pint in between each one.
Right. Yeah,
and there's a couple of like super fit lads that did well, and there's a couple of lads that were just throwing up everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, I like the idea. I wouldn't mind doing something like that. A marathon in those conditions you just described sounds like my idea of hell.
Yeah, I agree, but fun. Do you know what I think it is? It becomes the human aspect, like. The togetherness, the camaraderie, the sort of supporting nature of one another. I think as humans, like without me going, I'm kind of doing what you usually do. But we often compete with one another, and we're often quite individualistic, and we prioritise maybe ourselves and our friends and our loved ones, and we don't necessarily see ourselves as a community. I think the one time where I thought it was like the best ever supporting humanistic moment that I've ever been part of was running the marathon. I can remember it so clearly as well. You cross Tower Bridge, and I'm a proud Londoner, and I'm running across Tower Bridge, and I'm running for children with cancer, and you've got your name printed on the front, and you're about the halfway point, you're a bit knackered, you've already run 12 miles, you know that you've got another 12 to go. It's hard, you know? And I just remember this like moment of like togetherness. It was, you know, when people go to Glastonbury and they feel that unity, I feel it more at the marathon than ever. Like the people watching, it's the most holistic experience ever. And I think if you were to do even that fun one that we just described, Rota Shaw and Cal Freezy and whoever else doing, I'd have to talk to them about it. But I reckon that would still exist. So although you're having a bit, in fact, it might even exist more because you'd be on the Rouge.
I think you could do that. Maybe not 26 miles of that, maybe 10 or something.
They're all fit as fiddles, though.
Yeah, they are. I mean, fair play to them. But no, I hear what you're saying. I think the community aspect's big. I think. My guess would be like, well, my suggestion would be like, imagine all the energy, like the man hours, the physical actual energy that's almost produced of these thousands and thousands of people.
What, harness that
training for a marathon? How can we harness that for something that actually is relevant?
Yeah,
there's nothing against the marathon. I grew up with my dad doing marathons. I think it's amazing, but like, it is still individualistic. It's still can I run 26 miles? Yes, you've got loads of you doing it, but can we find a way of like all the time and effort you've put into training for that? Can you like help someone in need? Do you know what I mean? Like there are people in need. I know the charity angle does that, to be fair. Yeah. So maybe I'm being a bit unfair there.
Yeah, I mean, like, it raises something. I think I saw. I was watching the footage. I cry my eyes out watching that footage. I don't know why. You know when I turn it on, I've got the BBC on for the first time this year. I'm watching the commentary of London Marathon. I just burst into tears. You know, like, I see someone running who's had like both limbs amputated.
Yes,
I just burst into tears. Like I'm so inspired by it.
No, yeah, I think that last comment made is probably a bit unfair actually, because there is a lot of incredible stories there, and you've got to be realistic. Some people can't do something else. You know, they've got their active lives and they can just about fit and run. That's what puts me off the marathon. Is just the sheer amount of time. I don't see a world. It's very pertinent to the dad's conversation. And obviously you've done marathons pre-being a dad.
Couldn't do it now.
Where am I finding like 3-4 hours to go running?
And two of my friends ran it this year. Two of my friends. One, you know, Mr. Hender Mob himself, Roland.
Of course, yeah.
He ran it in like 3.5.
Yeah, he seems serious.
Fast. And my other friend ran it as well. They both got full-time jobs. Roland's job takes him all over the place. You know, he's running all over the world, and he's still finding this time to commit to running. He's got 2 children. Yeah. I don't know how he does it, but I think it's his one release.
Yeah.
Well, that and poker and going to QPR and boozing and whatever else. But he will tell you it's his one release.
It's a bit like the golf conversation. Again, my brain says, oh, that's too long and there's other things I'd like to do in that big window of time. But the other argument could be actually, if you can sort of get your partner on board with the fact that you're a runner or a golfer or both, you get a nice little break every now and then.
But then that's how we've done it, and that's why we're in such a glorious setting here, because we're obviously here to play poker, and somehow we've fluked it that this is all under the guise of work. Well, actually, it's not under the guise of work. It is legitimately work.
Yeah. It's amazing, and you've been doing it a bit longer than me, but we're just getting into it, and we've got a big game tonight with, I don't know if we can say on the pod or not.
We can now, because it will have been out.
Yeah, so we're going to be playing with Chris Eubank Jr., who's obviously one of the most relevant names in sport right now.
Yeah, I mean, a true icon, and in terms of like current people, he is the man of the moment.
He is, and obviously very much known for his boxing, and he comes from a legacy of a family of boxing there, but he's a massive poker fan. Yeah. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to this game tonight. I'm slightly intimidated because he had quite a lucrative day just a week or so ago. So we're gonna have to know our ranges.
I know. We might have to gang up on him because we could be outnumbered severely. But yeah, what a privilege to get to do that, and it is an amazing thing. I think it's important to note that it's not lost on us. Like, you're right, we are scaffolders. But at the same time,
grafting out here.
It's a great gig, isn't it? We get to do some great things, and luckily we have partners that support it. I mean, I was watching something on Instagram earlier, and it was about this couple who basically had quit their jobs, and they were talking about this thing. They created this Airbnb business, but they were like, it was a bit of like, one of those inspirational things. Like, we did this, we just smashed it out for 2 years and did the thing no one else could prepare to do, and now we've made this life for ourselves. And I said it to Alex actually, because obviously we didn't do that, but we did do our equivalent of that, like 10 years ago, where we did. It's easy to say now for people like maybe, I do find this a lot, whether it's on this pod or any other things I've been on. If we try and make any kind of comment about like what people could do with their lives or whatever, it's very easy for people to go, oh yeah, you would say that because you've done this, and they're very quick to forget like the things we did to get here. You've described like the things that we both came from nothing, didn't we? Neither of us had any help, and I think it's very easy to sort of just point fingers and go, oh, of course that worked out for you. Well, no, we're not sitting here as people that had a leg up, actually.
No, we got very lucky and then ducked and dived and hoped for the best and made our way.
Alex and I had a good 2 years where we did things that, there's a famous quote, isn't there? If you can live for like a year in a way that no one else is prepared to do, then you'll live a life that no one else is able to get. Yeah. And that is basically what me and Al did. We had a very, very boring life for probably 2 years where we basically said no to every single social opportunity.
it looks very glamorous. And of course we're very lucky, and it is. But we're also away from our children, which is not. It's never ideal. This time last year, I came to this very stop, but Clementine and Victoria came, and that's where Pandora was.
This is the rumour.
That's why I now have 2 children. I think.
So it's Monte Carlo's fault.
It's Monte Carlo's fault. We should have called it Monte Carlo.
I meant to say thank you to Monte Carlo.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely. But that's sort of an example. When things are normal, when there is an opportunity to travel, I'd rather they were here.
Yeah.
They were here last year. Obviously, it's impossible for Pandora to be here. So there is a sacrifice. Of course, we're very lucky as well.
Yeah, we are. I want to talk about the dad look.
Yeah, I mean, you look absolutely ridiculous. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of you.
Well, for our audio listeners, obviously, you have to jump over to YouTube to see this in full effect. But
I'm going to put this on Instagram.
We've got a very different look going on here.
Well, you do.
You are. Would you describe yourself as? I know you take your fashion very seriously. You got your man for your shoes. You got your man for your shirts. You got your man. Your man about town. You've probably got a tailor. I imagine you've got some sort of tailor.
I have somebody I like.
Haven't you?
I have a tailor.
He's got a man for every day, every occasion. He takes it very seriously. He's like, what's the word I'm thinking of? There's a word for it. It begins with S.
Sartorial.
Sartorialist, yeah. That's what you are. I definitely am not. I like to have like a nice selection of clothes, and they will last me a long time. I mean, most of what I wear, again, very aware of the privilege here, has been gifted to me at some point. But I think these sliders were gifted to me about 8 years ago. Haven't been renewed.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm sort of put off that you're wearing them now, but I was genuinely mortified that when I met you at the airport, you were wearing flip-flops.
I just couldn't believe. Comfort, mate.
I just couldn't believe. I don't think they should have let you on the plane. I honestly believe that the incredibly lovely attendant at British Airways should have welcomed me on the plane and barred you from the plane.
Right, out of respect, here's the thing though. The slider's not flip-flops, first of all. And secondly, I wasn't barefooted. Let's get that right. You're not the kind of guy that when you get on a plane, you like to take your shoes off.
Yes, I will do.
So why not wear sliders? They're off.
Oh, wow.
I'm straight in the game.
No, I mean, it would be a huge effort to get these off. How would I possibly manage it?
Yeah, but you've got no socks on, have you?
I'm not wearing socks.
Exactly. So if you take them off on the plane,
I wouldn't take these.
No one
off.
wants to smell that.
I wouldn't wear these on the. I
was being courteous.
No. This entire thing is crazy. I mean, it's very dad.
That's what I am a dad. Why not? Why hide it? Embrace what I am.
It's also very. It's not Monte Carlo.
No, that's true.
Like if you're going to be on the French Riviera, I want pastel. I want short shorts. I want espadrilles.
Yeah. Well, you've clearly exemplified that look. I think what I wanted to talk about is like, do you think like? I mean, I have over-dadded it today. I'm not saying I go around every day like this.
You look
right?
great.
But
you look great for that.
If I'm thinking more about when we're older and our kids are older, like, did you ever think about that growing up with your parents, like things they were wearing? Like, because I always think about this. Like, let's say I'm not going to suggest this is the case for my parents, so you just have to read in between the lines here. But let's just say you felt that your parents maybe didn't have the best dress sense or something, right? Is it that? Or is it that they just dress in a way that is passed them by?
But that's the thing.
You know
You get slightly older and you suddenly realise what you used to do, you looked ridiculous.
Well, that's what, and so I'm not targeting your or my. I don't really have a style per se, but let's say you've got your look, right? In your head, you're Jude Law in Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah,
that's
who
your
I
style,
am.
Right?
I am Jude Law in the Talented Mr. Ripley.
But is there going to come a time? I mean, I think I know the answer to this, and I think it's definitely yes. In about 5 to 10 years, where your daughters are very embarrassed by the way you dress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she's slightly aware of my eccentricities now, like slightly. But I've never cared. Like small things. My phone case. That's been a laughing stock. But I find it practical, so I've always done it.
Yeah, fair play.
Like I've always sort of done it the way that I would prefer. But the only time I've ever been a little bit conformist with fashion, and it was ironically during a time when it was like ludicrous. I used to like, this is when I had literally nothing, no money. I had no money, but I'd wear a Givenchy jumper. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? No money, but I'd have like a Burberry umbrella.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? You live at your nan's.
I find that with the non-league football scene, you've got these guys that, they're not earning big money like the pro footballers, but because they're, especially the ones that have been in like an academy setup, so they're hanging around with the footballers that are now on big money or they aspire to be like that, they're going and spending all their money on these clothes, and you're like, no, like, get a gym membership and become the best footballer you can be, and then kick up the levels, and then maybe if you want to buy nice stuff, you buy it. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I caught myself in a moment the other week. I was in a shop, and my little boy right now, he definitely doesn't care about what I wear. In fact, if I was to wear like the sort of clothes he wore, he'd think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, that will change.
If you were wearing a Power Rangers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So literally, I was in the shop, and there was a Sonic. He loves Sonic. And there was a Sonic jumper, and I was like, if I buy that, my little boy will think it's so cool, and we can go around in matching Sonic stuff.
It's funny when you actually do that though. Do you know Clementine had her face painted as butterfly, and she really wanted me to have it. She really wanted me to have it at Thorpe Park. And she started like actually freaking out. I was like, oh, just do it then. Just do it. Like, fine. I'm walking around Thorpe Park as a butterfly because my 4-year-old is going, please have it.
Yeah, so there's obviously like a point of no return.
You should get yourself a Sonic jumper.
Well, I thought about it, and this is where I don't like waste. And I thought I'm gonna buy that jumper, and I'm gonna wear it like one time, and my little boy's gonna think it's funny, and it's never gonna get. Because obviously I don't want to really wear a Sonic jumper, which might surprise some people. But like, yeah, I just didn't go that far. But there will definitely be a point where it's definitely not cool to wear what he's wearing, and actually, I just think it's unavoidable.
Whatever you do,
yeah, it's unavoidable.
The child will always be embarrassed by their parent at a particular
That
age.
was kind of my point. Is like, is there a way around that?
No.
I don't think there is.
No, and there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. It's your responsibility to embarrass your children, because effectively, when you embarrass them, what you're going to be doing is setting standards. You're going to be saying things that they don't like. You're going to be demanding that they dress in the way that they probably don't want to.
And what's more embarrassing? Let's say you're an eccentric dresser, but you have your style, and they think, oh, that's embarrassing. Surely it's more embarrassing to try and be down with the kids and be like, hey, I'm wearing the latest.
You say it's eccentric. Effectively, it's not eccentric at all, is it? I have no tattoos. I'm not wearing all that baggy gear. It's shorts, a short sleeve t-shirt, a watch, and a pair of
I think the word for it is probably, I don't know what the word for it, but it's like a generation. Yeah. There's been a generation shift that passed you by.
I can imagine Clementine in about 4 years going, why are your shorts so short?
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
I mean, I ask that now.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people do.
Yeah.
Lots of people
there
do.
An answer?
And the answer is because they are called shorts. I'm a purveyor of the short shorts.
Short shorts, I think, yeah.
They're short. They're supposed to be short. Think about what would Ray Winston wear when he was in Sexy Beast?
No, that's
what would Danny Dye wear in The Business?
Clearly you're smashing that. If that's your KPI, you're on point. We're going to finish today. So it's a briefer pod today. Obviously, we've got a lot to do here in Monte Carlo. But we have got a dad diary that I want to dive into, if that's right with you.
Hit me.
Raw dog. Let's have a look. Okay, this dad diary. Hi lads, I'm happy to say the podcast is part of my routine. I listen whilst doing my football analysis, often keeping me going through some tedious button pushing, so keep it going. My dad diary might be a little bit different, but I'd love to hear your views. I had a bad relationship with my father when I was young. Luckily, he's no longer part of my life, but I've always felt that is my life's purpose to do what he couldn't and be a good father. I'm now 25, living alone, holding down multiple jobs whilst trying to save every penny for when I have a family of my own.
Brilliant.
However, I'm getting to an age now where I'm feeling the male equivalent of broody, especially as I work with children in some of my roles. I'd love to be a father, but I'm yet to find a woman who's the right fit for me. My biggest fear is that I'm being too picky and won't find someone to build a family with, or that I rush into something that I'm not ready for or isn't right. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think he's doing everything perfectly. And this shouldn't come across as patronising at all, but he's only 25.
Yeah, that is
like
young.
the only thing that he said there that I would take that he needs to be slightly careful with, in my opinion, is I'm feeling slightly broody and I'm worried I'm going to rush. It sounds like you might rush. 25, you've got a decade of meeting people and trying before you need to start thinking about settling down.
Yeah, certainly. As a man, I think, I don't want to pretend to understand the complexities of this individual from one message, but it sounds like there's obviously some other layers there with what's happened with his own father, and you wonder if maybe that, because he's set this almost life goal to make those wrongs right, that's what's making him think, I need to be a dad, need to be a dad, need to be a dad. But you can be a dad. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's quite easy to become a dad. Like, in terms of once you decide that's what you want to do, if you found a partner or not, having the baby is not the hard bit.
There's no skill in
necessarily.
that.
That is obviously.
I'm quite skillful at that.
Some people
but for most
obviously
people, no
struggle
skill
with
in
it.
that. Yeah.
Some people obviously struggle with getting pregnant, but in terms of like the speed of it, it can be quite quick. The most important bit, I think, is the personal development, making sure you're in a place to support that child, not just financially, but mentally. Have you made peace with the things that might be harder to do when you're a father, and have you found the right partner? Which it sounds like he hasn't yet.
He's in a good spot, I think, as well, because I think it's also very important. When we think about example, we always think about who we want to be. I think it's great to have a trailblazer for who you don't necessarily want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I have a great relationship with my dad now. Like, we're friends. But as a father, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that it wasn't quite right. And I take great pride in learning from his example and not doing that.
And for me, it's like the opposite, really. I find it so sad for someone to say, I had a bad relationship with my father, but luckily he's no longer a part of my life. Like, it's so heartbreaking. I'm sure for this individual, that's the right course of action because it's so significant. But it makes me think like the opposite way. Is I'm so determined to make sure that my kids never say that about me.
Yeah, too right. And so is he.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is a great example. We wish you the best of it. I think, you just finding that partner is such a significant thing in your life, isn't it? Like, it's going to have so many permutations from what happens the rest of your life, not just with kids, but everything you do, where you live, the job you do, the happiness you have, what you do when you retire. All those things are hugely influenced by the decision you make in a partner. Yeah. So you do not want to rush that one.
Completely agree.
So we'll follow that dad diary with a VAR, very annoying reality. I need some guidance on whether I got this one right.
Go on.
I think this past weekend we experienced the mother of all meltdowns from my oldest.
Eesh.
He's had a few, but this was like serious. Yeah. And I had let's make a few big calls. Okay. So he starts going crazy. We're not letting him watch a film. He wants to watch a film. He watched a bit of TV that morning. He watched a bit the day before. We were like, look, you can watch some later. But right now we're going to take a little bit of time out. And he was clearly getting tired and more worked up. And he got to a point where he couldn't undo his tantrum. Do you know what I mean? When you can't talk him around. And he's like, he actually just needs to vent now.
Yeah.
So we couldn't talk him out of it. So Alex made the decision to sort of leave him in the lounge with the TV off. And we'll go in the kitchen. There's like a door through to the lounge you can see. And just Alex was almost like, let's go to the kitchen and make it look like we're having a great time, and he's missing out, and we were sort of like, having a great time in there. And he was just going mad. He's picking up the sofa cushions, throwing them. I was thinking he's going to smash the TV. Like, this isn't a good idea. And also, why are we like departing our room? He should have to leave the room. Like, we've left him in the lounge room. So I was like, right, Al, I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and if he keeps throwing stuff, he's clearly doing it for attention, I'm going to go and send him to his room. We've done this before, we talked about it. So he kept doing it, so I went, right, went in there, didn't say any words, I didn't lose my temper, just picked him up, said, you go into your room. Went up to his room, threw him on the bed. He obviously ran straight off the bed to try and get back out. I closed the door, hold the door closed. I'm waiting until he calms down, he's kicking, going mad. And I'm just waiting there, I'm just holding the door, I'm not saying anything, I'm just holding the door. because we've done this before, eventually he just chills. And I'm never going to like leave him in there, but I want him to think he's been left in there so that he chills. But he doesn't chill. He's just continuing to throw stuff. He's going, and I was like, I really want the monitor to see exactly what he's doing, but I can't go because he'll get out. So I'm caught in between this little conundrum. And I was like, thinking about my options, and I did it. What I did, but I did it in a very like deliberate way. It wasn't like I actually lost my temper. It was that I decided to purvey the idea of me losing my temper to sort of. He needed to, in my opinion, he needed to be reminded that he wasn't in control of the situation.
Yeah. You just acted.
He's
furious.
going mad, and he's now kicking the door to the point where like he could probably like break the door. Like he's really going for it. So I just controlled through the door, just went right, like really with my voice. I went, get over to your bed. Do not touch my door again. It's like my door.
Did you go? Did the accent come on as well?
Yeah, I did.
Did you get very Ray Winston?
Yeah, exactly. All through the door. But he literally, and by this point I'd managed to get the monitor so I could see everything. And this is the thing, when you know that they're not real tears. Like if I say chocolate, it's not real. It's all an act to get what he wants. And as soon as you stop saying anything he wants, he goes back to So as soon as I went, right, he just stopped dead. And he ran to his bed and I said, sit on that bed and think about what you've done. Do not come off until I say so. And the whole time I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't like doing this. But he has to learn, at some point in your life, this has to, in my opinion, this has to happen for you to understand the sort of food chain and the like, you're not in command of the house. And he sat there, and guess what? He didn't cry again. He didn't like throw a tantrum. He sat there like this, as good as gold, not scared because he was like looking at his posters and he was like just entertaining himself, which is exactly what I wanted him to do when I sent him to his room originally. And I looked at the clock and I said, right, I'm going to give it like 6-7 minutes so he knows that he doesn't, to see if he doesn't come off the bed, which he didn't, so he'd listened to me. And then I walked in there after that and I was like, right, you want to have a cuddle? We had a little cuddle on the bed and he calmed down now. And we ended up having like an hour nap together, which is what he really needed.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's an interesting one because I think some people, like Alex didn't want me to send him to his room. Alex would never have done what I did in terms of the shouting through the door and stuff. Like, am I wrong? Does it have to be done sometimes?
I don't think you're wrong. I think it needs to be done. There is a debate as to whether you should even pretend to lose your temper. I guess that would be the debate. I don't see an issue with it. I reckon that Victoria would not like me to do that, but I have done that. Mate, sometimes you just have it's a learning curve, isn't it?
Well, it's a tricky one as well because you never know. Like I have zero complaints about my own childhood, right? And things like that were done.
Yeah.
Like, and there was other things that were done as well that I don't have any issue with, that I think were always judged justifiably.
Yeah.
But as a result, that means that I now see that. I am aware that I have my own bias. That is the way to do it. Do you know what I mean?
I think consequence needs to happen, and I think that you played that perfectly. Did Alex agree in the end? Well, at least you got the end result.
Yeah, I don't think Alex is ever going to do that herself.
Yeah.
But I do think she might, maybe not admit this, but might understand there's a need for it at times. Ideally, you'd never do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if they're literally running the house and trying to smash stuff up and think, like, obviously he's going to grow out of that, but this is how they grow out of it. No?
Yeah, I agree.
He's a boisterous boy, and he needs to know that.
Yeah, there's boundaries.
It's better for me.
Boundaries
to do
and
it.
consequence.
What if he does that out in the, somewhere out external place, and someone else puts him in place? Doesn't have the same care for him. You know? So, I'd love to get people's thoughts on that, reactions. It is a ever-evolving space of decision making. You know, it's like one of those make your own adventures, isn't it? Parenting, like you go this way, and it has other impacts, and then you have to go that way because you've already committed, and you wonder, shit, if I never made that decision, I'd gone that way. Would they have turned out different?
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're talking about a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old in my case. Like, I think I've got time.
Yeah, it's fine.
To get it right.
It's absolutely fine. This has been fun, emotional.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Shout out to obviously PokerStars Game Plan as well for helping us do this abroad. It's massively appreciated.
Ever grateful.
And we'll be back in boring England next time. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Follow us, like us, rate us, and then get dressed like a dad if you can, because it's fun.